the sun god Nika, the god of fire, a vampire's greatest weakness, and the dawn of the world. I figured you out, Imu. You need to know what I know. Imu has the sun, so no me. On top of this, I may have found out how Imu uses fruit to control one of the strongest characters in the One Piece verse, and how this all ties into the end of story of One Piece. Sounds good, right? Strap in. And yes, I've done a theory on Imu before where I talk about Imu's ties to ancient Egypt, Vivi, and Mihawk, but this video can be viewed entirely on its own, as I will reiterate some of the points from that video in a short summary here, because with some of those points and a lot of additional evidence I discovered, I can show you why Imu consumed the sun no mi. I want to preface this video by saying this is not definitive fact, but a theory based on evidence I researched. But there's so much evidence, it's basically fact. Let's go! From my other theory talking about Imu's connection to ancient Egypt, I talked about a god from Egypt that Imu resembles immensely, who goes by the name of Amun. Not only from their appearance, where we see Amun's strange crown on Imu as well, but in their personalities too. Amun was one of Egypt's 8 primordial deities, known as being the hidden god shrouded in mystery, something very similar to Imu's mysterious presence within the One Piece world, with only a few people knowing him. But it's not only because of their appearance and traits I think Imu's based on the god Amun, but also their motives. In One Piece, the only person Imu seems to have a liking towards is Vivi. Shirahoshi got stabbed with a sword that looks identically similar to Shanks' sword, weirdly. Luffy and Blackbeard got teared apart too, but Vivi was the only poster Imu kept with care. And whilst the other bounty posters were on the ground, Imu carried Vivi alongside him. And guess what the most famous and first wife to obtain the title of God's Wife of Aman was? It was Queen Amos Nefertari. I'm not making this up. And also in the current storyline, it seems something unfortunate has happened to Vivi too. And it seems just like Amun made Nefertari to be his bride, Imu is sitting on the empty throne with a similar desire. These similarities between Imu and Amun tie into Imu's devil fruit very nicely, as Amun only obtained power and became the supreme god, the creator of all things and the god ruling over the world when he merged with the sun god Ra. Keep this in mind going forward, the sun god Ra. There was one major thing I missed in my last theory. I knew Imu and Mihawk were connected, which when condensed down is that Mihawk is based upon the sun god Ra, the one I told you to keep in mind about 8 seconds ago and merge with Amun. Both Ra and Mihawk sail around in the same candlelit boat, both wear the same golden cross, resemble the face of a hawk, and Mihawk seems to have the eye powers of Ra. However, there's something I didn't know. On what I'm about to theorize next, you might just think I'm wildly speculating, but if you really sit with it and listen the whole way through, you might come to the same conclusion I did. And regardless whether this next part is true or not, I still think Imu has the sun no mi, but this would completely connect the dots. Mihawk has a vampire alter ego that Imu controls through his devil fruit, the sun no mi. Let me slow that down. Mihawk may have a vampire alter ego that Imu controls. Imu can control Mihawk? What? That's so bold. What alter ego, Real Raymond? You're on crack, aren't you? You had a big whiff before you started this video, didn't you? Yes. But that's beside the point. Let me break this down into 2 parts. Let me first establish why Mihawk has an alter ego that is not in control of. It has been shown throughout One Piece that people or creatures can be possessed, and if you pay close enough attention, it's the people with the same Imu eyes as Mihawk that have shown they're possessed by an external force, one way or another. When Cavendish and Hakuba were fighting for control over the same body, the Imu eyes were active. Zunisha has the same Imu eyes, and it's a giant elephant that switches back and forth between a sentient elephant and one that seems controlled by a third party. The Sulong Minks gain the same Imu eyes when under the influence of the full moon. If all the others with the Imu eyes are possessed in some way, wouldn't logic suggest that Mihawk would also have some type of alter ego external force affecting him? Now that we've established Mihawk may have an alter ego, let's talk about why Mihawk's alter ego would closely resemble a vampire that Imu controls with his devil fruit, the sun no mi. The name Dracula Mihawk itself is derived from the fictional novel Dracula, who is based on a real-life warlord known as Vlad the Impaler. But in One Piece, it isn't just Mihawk's name that is based on a vampire, but the fact that he lives alone in an empty castle, has pale white skin, frequently drinks red wine, and speaks as if he belonged to the 16th century. But if we really think about it, Mihawk's character should be everything against the idea of vampires. Vampires play dirty, they will even bite out your throat as it means to win in a fight. But Mihawk is an honorable swordsman that respects his opponent and will do nothing of the sort. He even wears a cross. Maybe he's aware of his alter ego that is trying to scare away with the cross. I think this is all a purposeful ploy by Oda, a dichotomy shown in Mihawk's character so early on, so when the reveal for Mihawk's alter ego, Vampire Hawk, comes, it would have been foreshadowed all along, with only those with the highest IQ in the West finding out the truth. And the funniest thing about all this is the first ever vampire in mythology actually came from ancient Egypt, where the vampire Sekhmet was sent down by the sun god Ra, the same Egyptian god who Imu's character takes a huge inspiration from, sent a vampire to Earth. The same way Imu sent Mihawk to the Blue Sea. Okay, Real Raymond, I get there's a connection with Imu and Mihawk with Almond and the sun god Rostov, and the fact their characters are very similar. But how would Imu even get in contact with Mihawk? There is strong evidence suggesting that Dracula Mihawk was at one point in time a celestial dragon. Mihawk wears the same band Doflamingo wears in the identical position, and it's not a Shichibukai thing because none of the other warlords wear this band. And we know what happened to the Don Quixotes. They resigned from their celestial dragon position, so it's very possible this was the same with Mihawk. Not to mention, Mihawk's last name, Dracula, translates to dragon, suggesting Mihawk may in fact have been a previous celestial dragon. Imu may have sent Mihawk down from Mary Jawar at a very young age, so if the balance of the world were ever to shift, he is one of the strongest people in One Piece under his command that he can just control from his throne. You're probably wondering, how could Imu control this Mihawk vampire alter ego? The answer is simple. Imu would control this vampire with a hypnotic ability of the Sansa no Mi. Normally in movies and TV shows, the typical trope of vampires is that they're burned out under sunlight, but this idea was only popularized by Western culture. To me, it's much more fitting that in One Piece, where the themes are concentrated around the world government's control, and the separation of humans, with demonstrations of hypnosis in the story, and people's ability to erase memories, that King of the World Imu has the ability to, instead of burn down the vampire that takes over Mihawk, to mind control this terrifyingly powerful Mihawk alter ego to fight for him. So now let's connect the dots from everything I've talked about. If you could pick anything in the universe that could control vampires, you'd probably pick the sun. In Egyptian myth, the sun god sent down a vampire to punish humanity. The god Amun only became powerful when he merged with the sun god Ra. But not only that, but within One Piece itself, we see that the most prominent figure in One Piece, Joy Boy, was called the sun god Nika. Here Goro called Luffy the real god of fire himself. Luffy will eventually bring a new dawn, or in other words, a new sunrise. The sun is the recurring theme. That is why I believe Imu consumed the Sansa no Mi, or the Ama Ama no Mi, which gives the user the ability to control the sun itself and harness the powers of the sun. I theorize that not only could this devil fruit control the vampire Mihawk alter ego, which who else can control a strong figure in the One Piece world? Nobody. But this devil fruit also has the ability to change the composition, size, and heat produced by the sun itself. With this, Imu would be able to change the tides of the sea, create weather storms to his liking, manipulate cellular plant life itself, and even be able to manifest himself into a Logia sun form. I would say it's a fruit worthy for the king of the world. But I also think Imu will have the Sansa no Mi for how it ties in for the end of story of One Piece. Luffy vs Imu will be a clash of two philosophies. One is a man that is called the sun god by his peers due to his unrelenting belief in bringing freedom for all, and one has been worshipped as the sun god by the Gorosei for his ability to retain permanent control over the world and being the gifter of immortality. And let's say, as I theorize, Imu could control Mihawk in his vampire form as well. This would tie into Zoro vs Mihawk, Luffy vs Imu, and Zoro vs Mihawk, a 2v2 for the ages. And think about Blackbeard's Yummy Yummy no Mi. Out of all the devil fruits he researched, he chose the Yummy Yummy no Mi first. The fruit definitely has its fair share of weaknesses, and those in Marineford who saw Blackbeard's power weren't shocked at all, implying this fruit didn't belong to a famous figure previously. Then why would Blackbeard choose this fruit? Because he knew something they didn't. This was the only fruit with the ability to dethrone Imu and become the king of the world, something even Rocksteady Zebek couldn't achieve, the direct counter to the Sansa no Mi. Who wins between Blackbeard and Imu? I can't tell you. That's for Oda to decide and us to endlessly speculate. But what you can take away from this video is, I personally think that Imu is in control of Mihawk's alter ego by the special powers of his devil fruit, and has the devil fruit that has total influence over the world, from the ocean floor to far above the sky. The Sansa no Mi. I hope you enjoyed this video, subscribe if you did, and peace!